So I got a message from one of my viewers named Taylor Walker from California, and she explained to me why she is still Sanders. And I thought she made some phenomenal points, so I really wanted to play her message. So here that is.
Hey Mike, not gonna lie, but after Bernie's loss tonight in New York, I felt really disheartened. He needed to be within 4 to 7% of Hillary in order to come out of it strong, and the polls had him right there, the exit polls. But as those precinct reports rolled in, my gut was wrenching. So I've thought about this loss a lot, and this might be my bias talking, but I'm going to let it run its mouth anyway. Everything was working against Bernie from the start. New York is one of her, 3 home states. He started 50 points down, and it was a super close primary. And I think reports are saying now that 120,000 Democratic voters in Brooklyn alone were struck from the records. But yet, despite all of that, he still came away with 42% of the delegates. In the grand scheme of things, he fell behind by about 31 delegates. It's a big loss, and it absolutely made his path to victory much narrower, but it's not gone completely. Hillary and the mainstream media will be calling for him to drop out harder than ever now. The amount of shit that us Bernie supporters will get for not supporting the winning candidate is going to be absolutely insane going forward. But I am in California. I've not had a chance to let my voice be heard yet. And I've invested so much into this campaign that giving up on Bernie and his message now would feel like I was giving up on myself. Bernie's not going to give up on me. In fact, in the face of so much opposition over everything he stood for the last 35 years, he's not given up on what's right. So I won't either. And I am still for Sanders.
Yeah, so I agree with you 100%. Everything that she predicted about the media basically pressuring us to support Hillary, it's all come to fruition. And the thing that makes me mad, I'm glad she brought this up, is how those of us voting in California, in Oregon, we haven't had our chance to have a say in the election, yet it's already wrapped up for us, apparently. No, I don't think so. I'm still going to cast my vote for Bernie Sanders. I don't vote until May, and the end of May, mind you, and Californians don't vote until June. So if you think that we're all just going to give up and not vote for Bernie Sanders, then, you're crazy. It's not fair. It really isn't fair. And this is why Bernie Sanders has committed to remain in the race until Philadelphia, because he thinks it's only fair if all voters get to cast their vote and make their decision and have some say in the Democratic primary. That's why you remain in it until the convention. Now, here's the thing that really does bug me. When you really think about what could have been, it's really depressing, because if we had an open primary in New York, it would have been a completely different story, because the amount of independent voters exceeded the amount of votes Hillary Clinton beat Bernie Sanders by. So we could see entirely different results in the opposite way if we had open primaries. Now, I am 100% for open primaries across the board. Now, I'm always criticized when I say I don't like closed primaries by Hillary Clinton supporters, because they'll say, well, you condemn closed primaries, but you won't say that you're against caucuses because they help Bernie Sanders, right? Wrong. I am 100% against caucuses. I think they're undemocratic. I think that the secrecy of the ballot is important. You shouldn't have to go before a crowd and explain why you support one candidate or the other. Like, that could lead to intimidation. It's just undemocratic. I don't like caucuses, and I am in favor of repealing those, getting rid of all caucuses. I'm in favor of getting rid of superdelegates altogether. It doesn't matter if they help or hurt Bernie Sanders. I want superdelegates gone. They're undemocratic. What I'm in favor of is strengthening democracy. And I'm consistent on this issue. So it's not the case that I'm against closed primaries because they hurt Bernie Sanders and help Hillary Clinton. I'm against them because they're wrong. I want to strengthen and enrich our democracy. It's already bad enough that all this money and special interests that are poured into elections, they diminish our level of representation. We don't have a say. So if you read the study by Dr. Gillens and Page from Princeton University, they found that businesses and special interests, they have all the say when it comes to influence in politicians, but when you control for just regular citizens and their policy preferences, we have zero impact, a non-statistically significant impact on their decisions when they make legislation. And that's not fair. So I am in favor of strengthening democracy across the board. And if we actually had closed primaries, if we banned caucuses, if we didn't have superdelegates, we'd see a completely different election. I honestly think we would, and we'd see many different types of elections. Now, one thing I can say is that I like the fact that it's proportional. That's the way it should be. I'm in favor of having electoral reform and getting a proportionally representative system. I don't like winner-take-all systems. I don't like district magnitudes where you get to only elect one representative. It's just unfair. So I'm in favor of democracy across the board. So anything that's undemocratic, you can expect me to be against it. I'm with you on the caucuses. Hillary supporters, we got to get rid of those. But can you actually say that you're with us on superdelegates too? Can you say that you're with us on closed primaries? See, this is why it's particularly egregious to have closed primaries. Independent voters make up the largest share of voters in the country now. Over 40% of individuals are independent. So why is it that only a select few people get to participate in this process? Now, the counter argument is that the Democratic and Republican Party, these are private organizations. They don't have to be representative or democratic. But the thing about that's problematic, and that argument is just troubling for anyone to make, is that we live in a two-party system. It's Duverger's law. Look it up. I say it all the time. We basically can't have three parties be successful. It's very rare in our type of electoral system to see more than two parties. So if we only have two parties, you're damn right they better be democratic, because they facilitate representation for 100% of the party effectively. So if you think that just because these are private, closed organizations, they can be undemocratic, absolutely not. I am in favor of open primaries for all candidates. I think that everyone should have a say in who becomes the nominee of the party. I don't believe in contested conventions unless it's the case that something bad happens. Like, for example, the only way I would actually support a contested convention if Bernie Sanders lost is if Hillary Clinton was going to be indicted. That's a different story. Or if someone fell ill and they couldn't actually finish out the primary process or compete in the general. That's one reason why I would support a contested primary. But superdelegates, they've got to go away. But in the end, I completely agree with what Taylor said. I'm still Sanders through and through, and I really hope that all of Bernie's supporters are too, because it's not over yet. He's not out of the race, and we can still try to influence this election and get as many delegates as possible to bolster our message and prove that we are a force to be reckoned with.